One of the things that we've been thinking about a lot lately is that YouTube is sort of unusual when it comes to these social apps, the social video apps. And one of the things that we heard from our friend, a cook named Matt, is that one of the things that makes it different is that it doesn't have a DM feature. In fact, YouTube isn't really even a social platform in that regard because it never had a social function in that regard. It was always kind of interest-based. Well, let me tell you a little bit of a story starting all the way back on November 18th of last year, November 2025. There was a post on that day by Megan from Team YouTube on their YouTube test features and experiments thread in the YouTube documentation. They say this: testing new ways to share videos on YouTube. We're experimenting with a new feature that makes it easy for you to share videos you love, long form, shorts, and live streams, and have a conversation about them directly on the YouTube mobile app. This experiment is rolling out to adults 18 years and older in Ireland and Poland. This has been a top feature request, so we're excited to test this out and hear your feedback.
How'd they pick those countries?
It's a good question. I don't know how they picked them. As of 10 days ago, on March 5th, this is a report from Ryan McNeil at Android Authority. This is what happened next. Did you know that the YouTube mobile app previously had a direct messaging feature? It was announced in 2017, but the plug was pulled 2 years later. Recently, YouTube gave DMs a second shot through a limited experiment back in November, and now the company is ramping up that experiment to include more users. The YouTube team has announced that it's expanding November's experiment to more countries. Initially, the test only included Poland and Ireland. Now it covers 31 countries in total. This expansion keeps the experiment exclusively in Europe, so US users are still getting left out in the cold. But the point of this, in my opinion, is that the test for DMs is expanding on YouTube. And it appears that they're marching their way outwards from, I guess, Ireland and Poland out to all of Europe and hopefully soon to the US. And I tend to think that this means that they're trying to install a DM feature globally, worldwide. I'm curious about what your reactions are to that.
Google Plus. That's what I think about. You know, the FOMO that YouTube has as an organization, and for whatever reason, their team, you know, like they want to create more social connections. Mm-hmm. That's what it is, because they know the power of social media, Facebook, Instagram, like even TikTok. TikTok has a good balance of the social and the content. I argue they lean more towards content. Why can't YouTube just be at peace that they're a video library that is just so massive and creates so much opportunity and wealth, right, for creators? And that's what they're good at, like stay in their lane. Why do you have to do it? However, there was a time where that DM thing was a thing. I remember checking it. Judy, my wife, who's been a YouTuber since 2008, she always checked it too. And so it's funny, I say all that, but it's hard for me to get back to my DMs. I wouldn't even want to try to manage it. But I think that's a point, right? It wasn't made for that. It wasn't designed for that. And people don't expect that. So they're trying to create it. And they've done the community tab and posts. And there's even another form of it. There's a whole nother, I don't know. They're trying to do all this stuff. So we'll see if people want to do it. They spend a lot of time. Now, I will say, though, comments have become much more active. I think this is a TikTok phenomenon, that comments are its own experience. Yeah. So there's a video, and on TikTok, I sound so old saying this, but they go to the comments to see what other people are saying, because there's literally just hilarious reactions to it or commentary on whatever's happening, good or bad, and people like look forward to it. So you watch a TikTok and then you go into comments just to see what people are saying, but not in a negative way, just because it's so entertaining. In YouTube, I found that the comments are getting longer and longer and more engaging. You saw this on your channel on coverage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. People are writing things that look like small reports.
Yeah, they were.
Or like
they literally were. They were citing their sources in my comment section.
And that, I think, is getting them to think, if people are doing that, we're just so close to getting back to that Google Plus kind of desire.
So are you opposed to the idea of DMs on YouTube?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because
that's actually shocking to me, by the way.
Yeah, because it adds another thing for the creator to do and check that is not what you're used to And this is not very much team YouTube, but creators use Instagram DM for that, or business people use LinkedIn for that. Like there's other platforms for that one-on-one connection, and YouTube is very much like that sounds about like parasocial relationship kind of platform, because it's just like that on TV. I know that makes it sound super old and disconnected, but it's because the lack of that you can focus. Okay, I have another friend that got the friend that I just talked about. He got his Facebook and his Instagram deleted. Okay. Took him over 6 months to get it back. But you know what happened when he had those two not in his life? He focuses on his YouTube channel, and his YouTube channel blows up, right? And like it gets more successful. I don't think that's by accident. I think the same thing could be said about YouTube. If you start getting distracted with DMs, and then there's all these DM strategies, and you do the things like what is it called, mini chat, where it's like automatically replying back and this whole thing. Yes, it does create opportunity, but does that like distract you from the creative? So for me, it's like the simplicity of the status quo, and that's how it is. If it could be a thing, though, just try it, and that's what they're doing, and let's test it out. I personally, I'm not going to jump in there. I'm like super late adopter. I'm not like the early adopter. Even though in the very beginning when they had that function, it was a cool function. I'm more a fan of building more interactions within the comments, leaving that the way it used to be, which is you can do video replies or audio replies, and just building that out more. Because to me, that is the mini social media platform of YouTube, is the comments of every single video. Then it keeps YouTube very clean. You're either watching YouTube Shorts or you're watching long form, and that's it. All the other stuff, I guess it does make it more engaging. But let me ask you neutrally, just straight up, as quick as you possibly can, yes or no. Community tabs on YouTube, has that made it significantly better or good or worse? I know that's not yes or no, but
Yeah. I would honestly say it's like indifferent. People don't really use it.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
I kind of expected that. It's not making it worse, but it's not really making it better. It just makes more for you to consume. And, you know, I think that if people want that, they're not going to go to YouTube for it. They're going to go somewhere else for that. And that's just the way it is. It's like YouTube kind of becoming greedy.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think the case that I would make for it, because to me, actually, it is an appealing feature, is that what you're saying about DMs on Instagram, but for creator to creator, is kind of how I envision this most likely being used on YouTube. That it's a way for peers to connect across channels on YouTube. Whereas like on YouTube right now, if somebody doesn't have an Instagram, maybe you can't reach them, right? Or maybe you're emailing them or something like that. Or even just leaving the app and getting sucked into the Instagram ecosystem is a way of potentially, you know, getting distracted and no longer focusing on YouTube, right? Whereas like in this scenario, if I want to DM Benji and Benji has his DMs open to me, I'll send him a message and say like, hey, you do this one thing, you want to collab on this, right? Whereas like, you know, there is a whole ecosystem of short form and Instagram creators who are actually dedicated to that platform that, of course, they would be DMing on that. So why wouldn't that be the same for YouTube?
Because it's another thing to do.
Yeah.
So I'm just giving you my personal opinion. I'm actually not saying it would be a bad idea entirely. You just have to see if it works out.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know, it'd be annoying. People start using it. People don't use it. It's not what YouTube expects. And then they just shut it down.
Yeah.
That's why I literally answered first with Google Plus.
Yeah.
What a freaking nightmare, not only for Google, right, or YouTube, but also for creators and users.
Yeah.
Right? It just so much.
It was a whole mess. Yeah.
It was a whole mess. And then the question is, where are you going to put the inbox? Is that going to be on the thing? Like right now,
My bet is it replaces subscriptions. I'm not going to lie.
You've said that for a while.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at my YouTube viewing page. I've got this live stream for this show on the YouTube Shorts tab. There's a home tab button on the left, and then there's a plus sign for creating content. Right next to it is subscriptions, and then on the right is the profile where you can go into your account. Yeah, and it's funny. You know how many times I've gone into subscriptions this year?
0?
0. How about you?
0. I trust my home feed all the time.
So that makes sense, because that was one of my problems. Like, where do you put it? So if you put it there, then it's easier to get to. And so it's funny right now, there's a little red bubble on my subscriptions. That's the first time I've noticed there was a red bubble because I didn't even care to look there. 'Cause I literally skip over all these just to go to my profile. I don't even upload through this little plus sign.
Well, and I just think about the way that, for example, like Adam Mosseri talks about Instagram, right? More and more, they're like, oh yeah, Instagram's not social media. In fact, all of the social things happen through chat. So we lean in on DMs, WhatsApp, all of the chat sharing features, which is where the real social thing happens, right? And 99% of the time, the flow is that you go to the home feed, you go to the Reels feed, you find a video you like, and what do? You DM it to a friend, and that's where the action happens, right? From YouTube's perspective, to your point, Benji, and this is not the way to like necessarily make decisions for the platform as a whole. They look at that and they're like, oh, well, people are going to Instagram and DMing each other this thing, right? Or probably more likely, they're going to their messages app and they're DMing each other. They want a piece of that pie, right? And they want to keep it all in-house to some degree. But I think that there may be a beneficiary on the side, which could be the creators. Now, of course, to your point, could also be a potential issue as well.